Alex Murdaugh takes the stand in double murder trial. "I did lie to cops."
Alex Murdaugh broke down on the stand Thursday as he recounted finding his wife and son shot to death, but he denied being the killer despite sensationally admitting to lying to cops about the night of the murders. The disgraced South Carolina legal scion sobbed and struggled to speak as he described discovering the slain bodies of his wife Maggie, 52, and son Paul, 22, at one of their homes on June 7, 2021. "So bad," he said of the bloodbath. Murdaugh, who smirked when he was called to the stand, was adamant that he was not responsible for their murders. "I didn't shoot my wife or my son any time. Ever," he said after one of his attorneys held up guns and asked if he'd blown his son's brains out. Murdaugh shocked the courtroom when he admitted lying to cops that he'd not been at the kennels the night of the murders, confirming he was the voice his son caught in a Snapchat video that investigators say was filmed just 5 minutes before the bloodbath. "I did lie to them," he admitted 3 times of his statements to cops at the scene, and ever since then. He blamed his addiction to pills making him paranoid. "It could be anything that triggered it. It might be a look somebody gave me, it might be a reaction somebody had to something I did, it might be a policeman following me in a car," he told the Colton County Court. After finding Maggie and Paul, Murdaugh, 54, said his legal partners were repeatedly telling me not to talk to anybody without a lawyer. "The police grilling coupled with my distrust for state cops caused me to have paranoid thoughts," he said. On June 7, "I wasn't thinking clearly," he said, fighting back tears. "I don't think I was capable of reason. And I lied about being down there," he said, saying his lies escalated in a tangled web. "And I'm so sorry that I did," he said, singling out surviving son Buster, 26, who testified 2 days earlier in defense of him and stared on in court as his dad confessed to lying to everyone. "I'm sorry to both of our families. And most of all I'm sorry to Mags and Paul," he continued, tearfully. "I would never do anything intentionally to hurt either one of them. Ever. Ever." The Snapchat video that caught his voice was recorded at 8:45 p.m. just 5 minutes before police believe Maggie and Paul were gunned down, according to a detailed timeline entered in evidence. Murdaugh mentioned nothing unusual at the kennels beyond the chaos of the freed dogs chasing chickens. "And then I left," he said, saying he went straight back to the house and likely dozed off for a minute on the couch. He then drove to visit his mom, who was a shell of her old self due to Alzheimer's and was agitated that night, he said. Prosecutors suggested that he parked by outbuildings near Woodland away from the house to get rid of evidence. However, Murdaugh maintained it was where I always park when there. "He only went alone because Maggie didn't really like to visit my mom," he said. "She loved to visit my dad," he said of the parent who died days after the murders. Murdaugh's decision to address the jury was only announced when the 5-week trial resumed early Thursday. "I am going to testify, I want to testify," the disgraced legal scion told Judge Clifton Newman in a firm voice after putting his hand on a Bible and vowing to tell the truth. The judge warned him that he risked exposing himself to cross-examination about the brutal murders as well as the roughly 100 other charges he faces, from stealing from clients to arranging his own shooting on the side of a highway. Murdaugh faces 30 years to life if convicted of the murders, which he has always denied. Even if he's cleared, he is expected to spend decades in prison for those other crimes, some of which he has admitted.